Good morning, Sonder fam. Welcome to our Sunday morning weekly setup. My name is Bailey Grady. For those of you who don't know, I'll be your on screen or on camera facilitator today. I also have the amazing Katie Gideon here with us in the chat, all the way from Scotland. So we are going to be hanging out with you all today while we go through and look at some kind of tips and tricks for your weekly setup. We'll have some examples up on the screen, and also while we do a couple prompts together to kind of hopefully get you in a good headspace for the upcoming week ahead. If this is your first time attending a social or attending a weekly social, if you don't mind giving yourself a little, hey, that's me, give yourself a shout out in the chat, and just let us know. We'd love to give you a big warm welcome. And as always, welcome back to all of our returning socialers. I see so many familiar names in the chat, and we love having this time with you each and every week. Oh, hey, Lisa, welcome. So exciting. This is a great group that's here today. So, like, if you are new, even if you're too shy to say so, you're going to have some really awesome folks to be learning from today, because while I will be sharing some different examples and things up on the screen, you have a whole chat full of almost 100 people and climbing here with you today that also have great tips and tricks and everything. So one of the best parts about coming to a Sonder Social is that you get to spend this time kind of in community with one another, and we just have the best community around. So I love that part. And speaking of the chat, be sure that you have your chat set to everyone. A lot of the time, Zoom will default it to host and panelist. And if it says host and panelist, only myself and Katie will be able to see what you are putting into the chat, which if you want to say something just to the two of us, that's okay. We'll read it. But if you would like to share with the group, which is probably what you want so that you could get feedback and support and encouragement from all the wonderful people here, you want to make sure that that is set to everyone. And as we go through today, if you see anything up on the screen that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to see that again, I want to go back, I want to be able to reference this, don't be afraid to take a picture or screenshot. Also at the end, either Katie or myself, one or the other, will share a link of where you can find all the recorded Sonder socials. It usually takes a few days for them to show up, but this is recorded, so you can go back and watch if you need to. Likewise, if you're ever not able to attend a social at the time that it's scheduled, you can always go back and watch the recording. Again, it'll take a couple days to pop up there, so it might be a few days late, but that's okay. Sometimes life happens, and sometimes we need to do our weekly setup a few days late. You know what I mean? So the recordings will be there for you if you need them. So real quick, I want to run through our community guidelines. As always, please be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. No promotions or spam, please. We are going to respect everyone's privacy here, and of course, no hate speech or bullying. If you would limit sort of repetitive product and accessory questions, we definitely don't mind some chatter around that, but probably the best place to ask about, favorite add-ons or stickers or pins or anything like that's probably the Sonder Club app, because you'll be able to get a lot more recommendations, because I know that a lot of us that are here have kind of like found the thing that works for us, right? And we use it pretty consistently. So definitely don't mind some chatter around that, but also want to make sure you have time for your setup. And then if there's anything that myself or Katie cannot assist with because we don't have the power to assist with it, because we don't have access to the things we would need to help, we will send you over to the main HQ team at hello@silkandsonder.com to help. And they are a small but mighty team, and they will get back to you with whatever it is that you need. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. That's all of you. But you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, which essentially just means whatever you need out of this time today, whatever this you time looks like for you right now in this moment, we want you to feel confident in doing whatever it is you need to do. If you need to just hang out in the chat and maybe do your setup after because you really need some extra community time today, that is perfectly fine. We're happy you're here. Likewise, if you're like, I don't want to chat today, I just kind of want to be with myself and be with my journal, that's okay too. You do not have to participate in the chat. As we get into kind of our opening activities with our mind map and our rosebud thorn too, sometimes depending on what we're working on, it can bring up what I like to call the crunchy feeling. And sometimes a little crunch is good, right? It can like add some variety into a dish and like set it off. And if you're ready to spend some time with that and like tackle that, we are here to support you in that. But sometimes crunchy is bad. Sometimes crunchy is like stepping on a Lego with your bare foot. And we don't want that. So if today is not the day and it feels more like you're stepping on a Lego with your bare foot, take a breath, take a pause. You do not have to tackle that introspection this moment. You can always come back to it later when you're feeling more in the headspace to unpack those things. So, whatever it is that you need from today, we want you to take that time for you. So, speaking of our mind map, that will be the first activity that we do. So, for those of you who may not know, a mind map is an activity that is unique to our weekly setups. It will not be pre-printed in the journal anywhere, so you'll just want to find a blank page or space to do that activity, and it will be around our theme of the month, which is independence. And then we're going to do a rosebud thorn exercise where we reflect on the last 7 days before we get ready for the weekly setup, preparing for the next 7 days ahead. So we'll go ahead and get started with that mind. Oh, just kidding, getting ahead of myself. Well, our theme is independence. So as all of you, I would hope know by now, because my gosh, there's only like 11 days left in July, which is crazy. Our theme this month has been independence. And if you were here for my weekly setup last week, you know that I talked about how I think we have a tendency, myself included, like a lot of us have a tendency when the theme comes up for the month to kind of think, okay, this is my theme for the month. So this is the thing that I need to like improve and I want to like focus on growing and all of this stuff, right? But that may not always be the case. And I think that independence is one of these themes that you really kind of have to look and see what you need in regards to independence. Because I know that some of you, like me, have a tendency to be more hyper independent. And if you're not sure what that means or what it looks like, there's a little blue box there on the screen that talks about it. And if you're a hyper independent person, you may need to reevaluate what your relationship to independence looks like. And you may need to learn to ask for help more often or trust others a little bit more, right? So it's not always about growing whatever the theme is. Sometimes it's about asking yourself what you need to be balanced in that theme. So if you're somebody that you could, be a little bit more independent, you could advocate for yourself more and speak up and all those things. That's awesome. Lean into that, lean into these prompts and think about how you can grow that independence for yourself. But if you're somebody that falls on the other side of this where like you're a little over independent, it's more of like a saboteur, it's that hyper independence, then you may want to like think about that and think about where that's coming from, and see if there's a way that you can kind of be gentle with yourself this month and help yourself grow through actually asking for help when you need it. Or is it a skill that you need to learn so that you feel more confident, right? And all of these quotes up on the screen kind of like speak to that. The center quote from Martin Luther King that talks about freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor, it must be demanded by the oppressed. That may seem out of context with this theme, but for me, I think it's right on the money because sometimes we are our own oppressor, right? Like sometimes I get in my own way. Sometimes whatever has happened in the past kind of creeps up for me and it shows up as anxiety or it shows up as hyper independence or it shows up as hyper vigilance, right? And so sometimes I am actually my own oppressor. And so we kind of have to stand up to ourselves and say, hey, this is not healthy. We got to correct some of this behavior and learn to trust again and learn to heal and figure out what it is we need to do those things. So all that to say, no matter what it is that you need on that independent scale, right? It is a scale. And just because it's our sort of theme for the month doesn't mean you have to try to like increase the scale. That might be, you might already be over here. We need to come to like center, right? So I hope that this helps to provide a little bit of perspective for some of you that may be more on this side of things. So now we're going to get into that mind map that I was so excited to get to. So again, for this, it's not pre-printed in the journal everywhere. you are going to have to just find a blank page or space to do this. I know a lot of you already have like a page picked out. I always do mine on like the very last journal page so it's easy to find. And this month, we're exploring and strengthening different facets of our independence. Each prompt encourages deep reflection, helping us to understand our unique path, embrace solitude, champion our own thoughts, and foster self reliance. This week, week 3, we are going to think about a situation where you held a different opinion or perspective than the majority of the group you were a part of. How did you feel in that moment? Did you voice your thoughts or did you hold back? What are the benefits and challenges of expressing an independent viewpoint? And when might be most important to do so? So I have my messy mind map on the screen so you can see a very clear example that my maps can be really cute and pretty, or they can just be a mess like mine. It gets the job done either way. And I've also got some really good quotes up on the screen that I think will help with this. But I actually bled into my like next carved out space with this prompt because it really hit home for me currently. I was talking to Katie about this before the social. Um, a couple years ago, I was on a girls' trip with some old friends, you know, the kind where you were like, you were really good friends like 10 years ago, but now you only connect every so often. And when you do, you kind of start asking yourself, like, are we actually friends anymore? Like, so many things have changed. Um, and I just that felt kind of like out of step for most of them, but I didn't know how out of step until the trip. And there were just multiple moments where, you know, it happened where it was very clear that myself and one person in particular just really did not align on life views and things, which is fine. You know, we don't always have to agree on everything to be friends with one another, but they were pretty big things, and she just wasn't even interested in hearing a different side of the story or anything. And none of the other people there like said anything, even though I know that a lot of them kind of felt similar. And very long story short, you know, I tried to like gently push back throughout the trip, but like there ended up being like one precipice point, and I didn't say anything. And I didn't because I was like, I'm stuck with all of these people for I'm stuck with all of these people for Carla, I'll go back to that in a second. I'm stuck with all of these people for a couple days. Like now is not the time to start like a big argument or a rift, you know, kind of situation. And I think that there's something to be said for that, like not only picking your battles, but thinking about when is the right time to have a conversation or if it's even worth it. Um, and with this person in particular, she's not somebody that's in my daily life. And so I kind of was just like, you know, I think this friendship has probably run its course. Like we have grown and drifted apart and we're just different people, and that's okay. Like sometimes that happens. People can be in your life for a reason or a season or, you know, whatever it is that that old saying says or goes. And sometimes that season just runs its course, and that's okay. um, but that group of girlfriends is like the only core group of friends that like girlfriends that I've had. And so ever since that's happened, like I've ended up kind of excluded from some things. I've also been excluded from things just because I was honest about like, hey, I don't want to, I don't want to go downtown and bar hop and all of those things. I'm tired. And so, you know, I just am not invited to things anymore. And that's also okay, you know? Yes, Christy, absolutely. That book is 100% on my list. I already bought it. I'm gonna read it. But you know, it's like even when you know people are not your people, and even when you know it's not the right fit and like it's time to move on, it still hurts, right? It hurts to feel like you're the only one that's left out or that you're kind of othered or alone. But I think I would rather feel othered and alone than to like pretend that I am somebody that I'm not. Because like so many of these quotes up on the screen say, like, when friendships are real, you know, they're not fragile, like they're really solid. And like you want to surround yourself with people who get you. Because friends are people who know you really well and like you anyway, right? In spite of all of your quirks and flaws and, you know, whatevers, right? They still love you for you. Like you reach a point in life where friendships take a lot of work and they take a lot of effort. And if you're going to put in the work and effort, it needs to be with somebody that genuinely cares about you as you are as a person, right? And if they don't, if they can't accept that, like, you don't enjoy the same hobbies all the time, or you're tired, or you might have different viewpoints, and if that kind of shakes the friendship to its core, then it probably wasn't a friendship anymore anyway. And that still hurts, it still can be hard. Um, but I still think I would rather speak up and take action and, kind of be myself, and live authentically to me than to just go along with the sake of having people to hang out with. So, um, anyways, so that is my take on this. Definitely share with us what is coming up for you and what this brings up. I will hop back and forth between these slides for you all so you can see the prompt and also see those different quotes and things. If you feel comfortable sharing in the chat what comes up, we would love to see that and support you. I know that we probably have all had similar experiences, so we're looking forward to just being here with you all. And I'll put on some music and then we'll get into our next activity. Thank you all for spending some time with this. I think this was like a big one, at least for me, and I can see like a lot of you responding in the chat, like it's like long paragraphs. So I think it's the same for a lot of us. So if you're still working on this, that is totally okay. I love all of the sharing and openness in the chat. Kind of like a common thread that I see woven through what was shared is that I think all of us understand the importance of having a space that is inclusive, right? Where people can feel comfortable just being themselves, like whatever that looks like. And, being in a space where you can be yourself doesn't mean that we have to all be the same, right? It just means that there are hopefully people who are there to say like, "Oh, I respect you and I appreciate your point of view. Like even if I don't agree, like I can still love you as a person or appreciate these other things, right?" Whether it's something you experienced or somebody you loved experienced, if it was in the workplace, if it was like something in like your personal life, like I went through, it seems like the situations where it got like the toughest, right? Were when it didn't seem like there was that sort of reciprocation and respect and openness. So, all that to say, maybe all of us can take this as a sign to just try to be that kind of I don't know what the word is. I guess maybe try to be that person for somebody else in the future, right? Maybe make sure that there is a space for somebody else's point of view if you know that it's a little bit different. Because if we all kind of value that openness, then we can say like, hey, I think you feel differently about this, right? Like I know that I probably feel differently from you, but I wanted to open it up in case you wanted to share. Sometimes it's just inviting somebody in to make them feel like it's safe for them to share that kind of helps in that situation. So anyways, please continue to share if you're working on this. We're now going to hop over to our rosebud thorn activity, and this is in the journal on page 44 this week. But you, of course, can do this anywhere and at any time in your journal. And we're going to be thinking about last week, so the last 7 days, and thinking about a rose, what went well, what's something we're grateful for, or something good that happened that made you smile. It could be something really small or something really big. We're going to think about a bud. So, what is on the horizon? Maybe you're excited, maybe you're nervous. And then a thorn. What maybe didn't go so well? What was tough? What could you use some support on? So I always like to do these in reverse. So my thorn was that I had some pretty intense neck pain last week. I ended up having to take Monday off from work because I just had like a headache all day that I'm pretty sure was caused by that. I'm in a much better spot now. I got myself to the chiropractor and things are on the up and up, but it is really rough to have neck pain. If you've ever had it, I'm sure you understand. And then my bud is that my oldest kitty, Clank, has a vet appointment next week. He's just been having some tummy troubles for a while. And so I'm hoping that we can kind of get to the bottom of what's going on. I'm excited to get him in and get him looked at, but also he's kind of an older fella. So it's always a little nerve-wracking of like, what are they going to find, right, when you go in there? And then my rose is that my husband is a car guy. He he thankfully knows how to work on cars. He does like all our car maintenance and stuff, but he also like goes to events like Import Alliance and different car shows and things like that, if any of you have ever heard of those things. So he was getting ready for an event yesterday and he had some friends come over and I got to kind of play host, like, make sure that they had some snacks and make sure that they stayed hydrated and all of those things. And I like to host. I like to like feed people and and make sure that they're taken care of and stuff. Like it's fun for me to kind of provide that environment. So I enjoyed doing that yesterday. So that's my rose. So I will put on a song for you all to think about your roses, buds, and thorns. And if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, we would love to see what comes up. This is one of my favorite activities that we do together just because it kind of gives us a glimpse into what's going on in each other's lives. And, it's always like kind of surprising, but not surprising to see like how often we kind of like share experiences. So. All right. If you are still typing up those rosebuds and thorns, please feel free to do so. I love seeing all the like support and encouragement in the chat with this activity. Like I said, it's just one of my favorite ways that we get to connect with each other each week. We are going to hop into our main event, which is our weekly setup, and we are on pages 46 and 47 in the July journal here. So these are my two pages together, but we will take these one section at a time. And we're going to start with the section in the top right on page 46 that is titled How I Want to Feel. So my word of the year is serenity. And those of you that have done a weekly setup with me know that I'd like to kind of call in my word of the year here in this space so that I don't lose sight of it. So instead of saying like this week I want to feel, or by this time next week I want to feel, which is another way you can look at this. I like to kind of call in that word of the year and see how I can create space for it or invite it in. So this week I want to make space for serenity by reminding myself to focus on progress over perfection. I think I will be a recovering perfectionist for the rest of my life. Which is unfortunate because perfection just like isn't real. It's a myth. It's like a boogeyman in really nice shoes, you know? It's just it's not real. There are some other really great feelings up there on the screen for some inspiration. Oh, and don't worry, as we go through, I'll hop back and forth all of these example slides once I put music on and things. But here are some other good examples of the ways that you can use this section. You do not have to pick just one word or just one feeling. As you can see, there's lots of different ways to do this. Also, totally fine if you need to fill this in a little bit later. Sometimes I end up having to fill this out at the very end just because I can't even wrap my head around how I want to feel or what I need until I can get everything else out on the page. So I'll put on some quick music for you, and then we'll move into our next section. That was a super short song, so I decided to thin it back around a little bit. We are now going to hop over to the center part of this page with the weekly to-dos and major weekly 3. So I use the personalized coaching platform through Silk and Sonder. I get plans delivered to me weekly, and the plans come with affirmations. And so I use them as my weekly affirmations. And I get 3 of those, so it's kind of perfect for this like major 3 spot. So instead of doing 3 goals, I do my 3 affirmations. And then over in my to-dos, I list out my like reminders and appointments and things that I have scheduled for the week. And then I try to come up with like 3 very like broad, loose to-dos to kind of support those affirmations. So for example, my first affirmation is I embrace change, strategically designing a life that flourishes through clarity and purpose with each decision. And so the to do I have tied to that for myself is journal prompts, because I think doing journal prompts and things helps me to be really intentional and think about my goals and growth. And so I think that's the perfect way to support that affirmation. Here are some other examples of how folks have kind of tied these 2 sections together. You can see where several people have picked like 3 areas of focus for their major weekly 3, and then they have come up with a to-do to support that area of focus. And then on the left-hand side, we have somebody that kind of wove everything in together here. So like their how I want to feel is that they wanted to nurture themselves, and that's watering these flowers that have three areas of focus on them, which is creativity, mindfulness, and physical well-being. And then in the to-dos, they are like supporting those things. And then in the activities, they have activities that support all of that. So you can tie in as much of this as you want or as little as you want. You can keep these sections totally independent or interweave some of them or all of them together, whatever will work best for you and help you feel supported. So here are some other ideas for these sections. If you have a lot going on, like it just feels like, there's a mountain of things to do and tackle and etc. You might want to take a look at that Eisenhower decision matrix in the top left corner. If you are writing the same things on your to-do list over and over again, you may want to look at that Pomodoro technique just to the right of the Eisenhower matrix. It can kind of help you get started on some tasks. Also, if you are writing the same task over and over again, maybe think about breaking it down a little bit more. Like if it's a big project, break that big project down into like pieces. And maybe the big project itself goes as like I don't know, a major weekly three, or maybe it goes in like a totally different spot and what actually goes in your to-dos, right? Or like the individual steps for getting that done. You also don't have to focus on productivity. You can focus more on like mindset with a to be list or a need, want, hope list. You can always do a to-do list where you list out things that you get done throughout the week too, instead of all the things you need to do. And then at the end of the week, it'll be like, ta-da, look at everything I did. We love a bingo here at Silk and Sonder too, so you can always try to gamify your to-do list and see if that will help to kind of motivate you. I like this little smart start too. You can use either of these spaces to try to establish like new routines and things. Sometimes just putting that pen to paper, really helps to solidify it into your brain. And if you're like looking at it each day, like if you're coming back to these pages, it can help to kind of ingrain it, seeing it there. You can switch up these sections completely too. This little mental health corner is fun. We always love stickers and doodles, and I like the do's and don'ts and embrace and release. For the weekly major three, you can do different areas of focus like we've seen lots of folks decide to do. You could do affirmations or other self-care focus like I do with mine. You can support that how I want to feel, or just stick to actual goals, commitments, and accountability. If you are setting actual goals, I love this idea of writing out the why behind it, because research shows that when we write out our whys, it helps us stick to our goals more often. Or you can switch things up and just change it around completely. You can move the to-dos and the goals, like switch them or put them in a totally different spot altogether. I know that a lot of people will actually use the meal plan section for their to-dos, because the way that it's laid out, like there's a section for each day of the week, actually works a lot better for some folks. So there are no rules with this journal. Literally the only rule with your journal is that you make it work for you. So don't be afraid to move things around, change it up, or to skip things completely. Like if there's a section and you're like, I just don't think I have anything to put here, then don't put anything there. Or put something there that's going to make you smile. Put a sticker, a fun quote. I always say if it's making you smile, it's still serving a purpose. So I will cycle back through all of these slides and give you a couple minutes to work on your pages. All right. We are going to hop on down to the habits and activity section. I'm continuing to use this as a stress check-in with myself because it is continuing to really, really help me a lot. So once each day, Monday through Friday, I just check in and kind of answer these questions that I've put there for myself. Like, how is my sleep quality? How much sleep did I get? What's my muscle tension like? Am I having any stomach issues? How's the brain fog? Because all of those things are like pretty good indicators for me of where my stress level is at, and just trying to kind of pay attention to that so that I can get ahead of it instead of waiting until it just feels like I'm under the blanket of stress, right? So I'm going to continue to do that with this section because it works well for me. But of course, you can use it for actual habits and activities. Now, we do have that daily habit wheel at the front of your journal, right? And we always like to say that you want that to be your daily habits, like what you want to do consistently each and every day. Whereas this section can be a little bit more flexible, right? Like maybe you have a habit or activity you just want to focus on for this week, or maybe you only want to do it 2 times a week, or maybe even just once this week. This can be a really great section to kind of write that out in a different way than just like a to-do, and kind of track your progress with it. You can set yourself a goal of how often you want to do it, or you can just track it as it goes. You can also try giving yourself like a reward. Like if you set a goal and then meet the goal, you can tie it to a specific reward if you know that that works for you. You can also use this to do a specific like routine setup. Like if you're trying to start a new routine, you can write out some of the steps here and track how often that you do them too, especially if you're trying to figure out what routine works for you. That can be helpful because you might have some steps in your routine that, as it turns out, may or may not need to actually be there, right? So this can be a good place to kind of track those steps and see if they actually helped. You can also try focusing more on the activity side over habits. You could track something to welcome in like the current season. So obviously, we're still in the middle of summer. Fall is just around the corner, which is crazy to believe. But if you want to savor those last moments of this very hot, wet time of the year, if you're in Tennessee, it's just like rained almost every day. It's been crazy. But if you want to try to soak up those last moments of summer, there's some ideas there in the center of the screen. You could use this for connection with others as well, or for like taking care of family members or pets. You can also mark your journal progress here. Like, how often have you looked at your intentions? Are you doing like the daily rituals or affirmations in the app if those are important to you? Are you marking off your trackers, right? So this can be kind of a good way to kind of check in and making sure that you are using the pages and pieces of your journal and Silk and Sonder journey that you want to, so that you kind of keep them front of mind and don't forget about them. If you're like me and you use the personalized life coach, you can also put the different areas of that in here. Like, are you doing the journal prompts that you're getting? Are you chatting with your coach? Or when was the last time you looked at your areas of focus? Maybe they need to change, maybe they need to be tweaked, those sort of things. And as always, you can repurpose this section or just say, no thanks, I don't need this. I'm just going to use the monthly habit wheel and just put something here that makes you smile. So I will put on a quick song for you all and cycle back through those slides, and then we'll move into our next section. we are going to officially flip the page over to page 47, starting in that section with the meal plan section. Now, this section gets repurposed a lot, not because having a meal plan isn't beneficial. Depending on what your goals are, it can be very beneficial to plan or track your meals. It just takes up a lot of real estate in the journal, and the layout works really well for so many things that it gets repurposed a lot. I repurpose mine for work meetings Monday through Friday and to kind of get an at a glance like view of how busy my different days are with meetings. It's really, really, really helpful for me. And then on the weekends, I don't typically work, so I have a little activity bank. I started doing the activity bank last week where I just list out a couple different things that I could do for like an hour or 30 minutes that kind of help progress some of my projects and stuff. And it actually went really well. I crossed off like 4 or 5 things last week when I did that, of stuff that I was able to work on. So I'm going to do that again and we'll see how it goes. But here are some other examples of how you could use this section. You've got this list of repurposing here, but again, if it works well for you to plan or track your meals, you can certainly do that. You can use this for affirmations, happy moments, or glimmers, or roses, whatever you want to call them. You can use it for journaling space, a declutter plan, or cleaning plan, any kind of organization. You can use it to kind of focus on mindful moments. I love this today's number one with like the stickers and the like little like I don't know, like the words. Words are hard apparently. You can also do journal prompts like we mentioned, or put your to-dos over here. I mentioned that at the beginning that some folks like to put their to-do lists over here. Or if you have kind of smaller handwriting, this can be a good spot to do some of your Sonder AI journal prompts and things as well. So I'll put on a quick song for you to think about how this section might work best for you, and then we'll head into our other sections. All right. We're hopping over to the right side of the page in our mind body health plan and shopping list. So on the Mind Body Health plan, I just put a sticker on the word plan because it just, I don't know. It's weird how one little word can like make such a difference, but just covering up that plan word kind of removes any pressure for me and makes me feel like it's more like an option or it's like a support space rather than like just another to do that I have to look at or thing that I have to commit to. So I always cover up the little plan. And then the shopping list I use as intended, mostly for things that I don't plan on buying anytime soon. I have a tendency to like impulse buy because I'm afraid that I'll forget about something. So that kind of helps me keep it under control. And then underneath that, I have kind of a list of running larger to-dos that like, again, no way they're getting done anytime soon. But if I don't have a place to put those to-dos, I will forget about them. Yes, 100% Amanda. Yes. And then for the Mind Body Health plan, or just Mind Body Health as I have it, I'm trying something new this week. I'm going to just try tracking making sure I'm getting my meds, seeing how often I'm getting 7+ hours of sleep, how often am I moving, and am I making time for breathing, and kind of see how that goes and how it correlates to that sort of stress tracker that I'm doing as well. Here are some other examples for these two sections. There's all these little bullet points here in the center. I love the little washi scraps example. I will have it up there forever. I think it's so fun and cute. I like the quote of the week too. There's a quote like there in the top right of your page. I know some people forget that it's there, and it's usually pretty good. So this can be a good space to kind of dig in and think about that. Of course, you can use your mind body health plan as intended and come up with an actual plan. If you do, please make sure you're carving out some time for rest. It's arguably one of the most important actions you can take. Same with the shopping list. Like you can use it as intended, of course, but I know a lot of you have other methods for tracking your shopping or planning. So feel free to switch it up and use that space for something else, even if it's just a sticker to make you smile. So I will put on another very quick song and then we will wrap up our time together because if you can believe it, it's already time. It always goes by way, way, way too fast. Well, that's all, folks. If you can believe it, we have reached the end of our hour together. As we're closing out our time, if you would like to share something you are loving, we would love to see it. I personally am loving having this space with all of you to connect and get ready for the week ahead together. Even when I feel maybe out of step with certain areas of my life, I always feel in step here with all of you because you're just the best community ever. So thank you all for being here, for sharing with us, for participating, not just in the chat, but also just with you, like participating with yourself in this time for yourself today. It really does just make all the difference because when we are putting effort and time into ourselves, we can all be the better people we want to be, right? And I think that that has a big impact. So we would love to see pictures of your setup. If you feel comfortable sharing, definitely share those in Sonder Club. We would love to see them. Also, if you missed it at the beginning, this Thursday, July 24th, Meha is doing another exclusive event with Megan Malone with Truity about using the big 5 personality types. I love personality type things. I'm kind of like a personality junkie, so I love it anytime they're doing events like this. Katie is popping in the chat where you can see all of the recording, all of the recorded socials on YouTube if you ever need to go back and watch anything. And then as I mentioned, as I go through, I use the personalized life coach each and every week. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely give it a look. It's really awesome, actually. So Katie, you'll pop those links and things in the chat. I will also share my playlist in the chat. It's just my big, giant master Sonder Social playlist. So feel free to dig through and listen to your heart's content. As always, it was our pleasure to be here with all of you and spend this time together. We hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and we'll see you at the next one.
I'm rolling up in lavender, I'm in my own vibe. got some purple kush for the drying. I'm heading to the studio, about to spit some lines. I'm sipping on the herb, about to stay up all night. It's always a vibe when I ride with my tribe. It's always a vibe with my tribe. So alive. It's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe. With my tribe, with my tribe, with my tribe, with my tribe. It's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe. When I'm with my tribe, with my tribe, with my tribe,